I'm here with Nathalia, and she's here at the museum. Is this called now it's called the Pompeii Museum?
Yes, it's now the Pompeii Museum. It was formerly the Vendue House. It was a slave auctioned building during the 1700s. It was built during mostly or confirmedly 1769, but it was run through the whole 1700s into the 1800s. It was a slave building. You could have purchased other things here, but it was mostly used and well known as that. It would have been renamed in 1992 as the Pompeii Museum of Slavery and Emancipation. Pompey was a 32-year-old slave. He lived here in one of our family of islands named Exuma, and he lived on Lord Rolls Plantation. You could probably know it now as Rollsville. It's now been renamed as Rollsville, his plantation. But he would have lived there, and he was a slave on that plantation, and he would definitely have been an activist fighting against slavery, creating and starting different type of revolts. One of his revolts was the most powerful one, that when he took 44 slaves to Nassau and petitioned against one of the relocations of some of the families of slaves that lived on Lord Rolls Plantation. And with that, even though with the pushback that they would have gotten, imprisonment as well as lashes during that slavery time, it definitely did, at the end of the day, result in improvement of treatment of people of color as well as slaves, because our governor at the time, Mr. Carmichael Smith, was a definitely soft-hearted man towards slaves and the slavery trade. So he was more than willing to assist and give pardon to Pompey and the fellow slaves that would have traveled with him during his revolt.
Interesting. Now let me ask you, because being here, one of the things I find very valuable in being here at the museum is, as we discussed earlier, you and I, off camera, this is not just history. This is not just coming in and learning about history. This is understanding how, as you said, 400 years of colonialism impacts modern day.
Right.
And getting that and really understanding that is so valuable, and it does help to start with the history, but there's a legacy left behind.
Yes.
Do you think that coming to the Bahamas, one can better understand that?
Yes. Most definitely, once you get tap into the historical history of slavery and what type of torments and tortures and horrors people would have faced during that time, you would see that it was something that it was not or should not have gotten to the extent that it did, and was absolutely an overkill or basically a silent genocide of the African community. So with that goes many of years of passing down the same knowledge and understanding of once upon a time that slaves were considered non-human, slaves were considered animals and property and things to own and trade, nothing of value, nothing of life. So with that, many generations passing down that same mindset, we have found today where we have still situations of racism against people of color in many situations, and definitely in the United States, people would face those things. So yes, the 400 years of slavery has done a very vast amount of work or damage to the image and look of people of color, as well as definitely at that time slaves.
Well, it's part of it, and I noticed one of the displays was about resistance and rebellion and resistance and the methods used. But without freedom, I mean, the quest for freedom is so strong. The quest to be treated as a human is so strong that one will carry out.
Yes, ma'am. They will go to a certain extent. It's like you having or you trapping a rat. The rat has been. Well, I want to use
a different animal.
Yeah, let's use a different animal.
A
nicer animal that we like.
I like squirrels.
I don't want to use that. Yeah, the bad narrative. Oh yes. So say we want to help a bird. There's been an oil spill, right? And the bird has been caught in some oil, and we want to clean it and take care of it and what's not. At first understanding of the animal, they're thinking they're in harm. they're thinking they're in danger.
Right.
You're taking them from their national habitat, most likely disconnecting them from their family or their different nests or what's not, to clean them. We're not probably knowing if they're going to be even returned back or given back. So
Right.
when you look at that narrative of taking something or someone or some animal even out of its own natural habitat, carrying it across the world or across wherever you may go, and then putting it in a completely new habitat can definitely cause certain effects and certain characteristics within the person, thing, or animal to change. So when you have or when you take something and change its all dynamics of what they know, you may definitely cause what can I call a blank of identity. They lose their own sense of who they are and where they came from and what they are all about.
Yeah,
You know? And then you have a whole different way of giving that perspective. And within that, within losing yourself and losing who you are, you tend to resort to your own natural reaction, which is anger, which is frustration, which is fighting, because you don't have a sense of purpose for your own self. So
You
when
want to
you,
regain that sense of being, or
Yes.
let's go back to being human. You want to
Right.
regain that sense of I'm a human, and
Right.
and
I
you
have
will do
rights.
anything
I have
to
rights.
get back to that.
I have rights, or even okay, like even when you take a lion and you want to put it in a habitat or in a zoo, they fight, they row, they they whatever, because you're trying to put him in a cage. You know,
Right.
so they're all everything that you take from its natural way of living and what it's used to and trying to position it or transition it into a new way, you should look for resistance to happen, because that's a normal human reaction to resist the new change that is happening. So when you have the rebellion and you have the resistance, these were people that were forced to change. These were people that were placed in environments that were not comfortable or conducive, yet, or even in an environment where people they knew or even spoke the same language. They were forced into doing horrendous acts and working excessive amount of hours with little or no pay. They were separated from their children, husbands from their wives, mothers from their children. Many of them would have just been used just to have kids, and their children would be then taken from them and sold or given to others. So when you have that type of injustice towards people, their only reaction is, you haven't shown me kindness, so I'm not going to show you any kindness. So I'm going to fight back, which you fought me with for so many years. So slaves took up that mentality. The only way I can get out of this is if I kill my master. The only way I could be free is if I have no master. The only way I could be free is if I don't have to live around or underneath these conditions. So you have people who want to run away. You have people who would have killed and ultimately been killed because they killed a white person or was not during that time. So the rebellion was something that basically had to come about so that the white community and population could know that the slaves are tired of this way of treatment, that they're tired, they have gained enough knowledge to know that this is not right for them and this is not how life is supposed to be. We should not watch our brothers be whipped to pieces. We should not watch our sisters and our mothers be raped and hoisted and dragged about the streets. We should not have this type of injustice towards one another. So because of that, we had the rebellion.
I highly recommend coming into the museum if you are here in the Nassau, Bahamas. It's very close to the port.
Yes, we're located right down Bay Street. Once you pass the Straw Market, with the second building after you pass the Straw Market, you will see a nice little pink 2-story building with a white door on the side and the Pompey sign up top.
How long do most people stay when they come?
Well, depending on how much you want, information you want, you could stay about maybe 15 to 30 minutes, 45 minutes maximum if you want to cover all of the museum. So
Depends on you.
It depends on
You
you.
can stay. I mean, even if you did a quick 10-minute tour, you will gain something from it.
Definitely.
It definitely helps if you care about human rights. It
Yes,
definitely helps
most
to
definitely.
come and get a better understanding about slave trade and the abolitionist movement
Yes, ma'am.
and the quest for freedom.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
resistance too.
And also our Bahamian history.
Yes. So
We
important.
have,
So important. And
we have
to
a lot-
American civil rights
Yes,
too.
because we have a lot of connections when it comes to United States. We're your cousins right down the street, you know. So we had a good part of you got your independence. We would have had a big impact of that as well. And because of our long-standing community relationship with one another, you guys played a lot in our independence as well. So definitely the two, I would say, has coincided to next to one another for years. And definitely come learn about our Bahamian history. It's something of curiosity. It's something of absolute interest, and it's a fascinating way to learn about another country that's right next door to
Very
you
close.
and their culture. We have a vast, strong culture, and we are loving people that will accept and open arms to every visitor that we possibly can bring in.
I will definitely be back.
Yes.
If I come back, and I hope I do, I will definitely come back and talk
Bring your
more.
friends,
Thank
bring
you
your
so
friends,
much.
bring your friends. We love to
Yeah.
have our visitors. We love to
the
see,
information out.
definitely when we have our visitors from the United States come and want to learn a more understanding of African slavery. We do truly appreciate that. I believe if
Bring
more
your
African
university groups and school groups.
Yes, I
and
believe if
absolutely,
more
it's well worth
Americans
it.
would come down and get an understanding of a different viewpoint of how slavery was taught in schools, you'll get a better appreciation of what all happened in history and how much our black community has fought for our slavery, for the demolition of slavery, as well as our rights in the country, in this world.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to turn it off. Thank you so much.